Welcome to Caregiver Chats. Today, I'm talking about the top 10 resources every dementia caregiver should know. So stay tuned and we'll get into it. Hi, Dr. Lakelyn here. I'm a gerontologist and caregiving advocate for Home Instead, an honor company. One of our most popular episodes of Caregiver Chats is episode 3, where I cover the top 10 resources every caregiver should know. Since June is Brain Health and Alzheimer's Awareness Month, I wanted to bring you a dementia-specific version of that list today. I thought it would be fun to collaborate on this list with a dementia expert and advocate that is well known on Instagram and in the dementia community. Carrie Aalberts, aka the Dementia Darling, is someone I've been following for some time now. She has created a beautiful community through her Instagram page, where she provides education and encouragement to those caring for individuals living with dementia. And she does so with energy, creativity, and compassion. I cannot wait to chat with her today. Welcome, Carrie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here and talking to you. I've looked up to you for many years, so this is an honor. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Well, the pleasure is all mine. I've also been a fan of yours. So I'm so excited we're collaborating on this top 10 list. But before we jump into it, I would love for our listeners to get to know you a little bit. So would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, your experience as an educator and an advocate, and if you've been a family caregiver, share a little bit about that too.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Carrie Aalberts, as you said, aka Dementia Darling, which is my social media persona I've done for almost 5 years in October. And really, my passion started, the seed planted, when my grandmother had dementia. And she actually passed away when I was 13. So obviously I did not know what was going on. My parents didn't. They didn't know how to educate us because they didn't even know what was really going on or had the resources. But my father was her main family caregiver, and I watched how much he did, and I could see that and the toll it took on him. And you know, that was the first time I ever saw my dad emotional, you know, things like that. So that kind of planted the seed. But I was really lucky. I was able to go to college and focus my studies in gerontology, the study of aging, and I was able to get my master's degree. And through that, I worked in intergenerational dementia care, adult daycare. So it was like there was a preschool on site and then the elders, and then we'd come together twice
amazing.
a day. Like, how does your passion not grow deep in that situation? Like, it was just like heavenly. It was so fun. But that really rooted everything. And so I learned a lot about the family caregivers too, and what their needs were. And, but through my time, you know, in senior care and doing life enrichment and being in, memory care and assisted livings, I've just, you know, taken in all that I can from the family caregivers and professional and the people living with dementia. And, that has led me, into the work that I do now, which is really trying to uplift the voices of the dementia community. I just feel like there isn't enough, you know, support and realness of what's going on for these family caregivers, and the isolation is so high for them. And so really Dementia Darling came from all these years of working and thinking, okay, how can I lift up this community in more than just like the couple people I see personally, you know, in my work? I want to do it on a bigger level. And that led me to Instagram. And now I have, across all my social medias, almost like 50,000, you know, family caregivers and professional caregivers that I have the honor of cheering on in their journeys. And that was a lot of like, but everywhere for you. But I have not been a family caregiver. I have watched, you know, and I'm very upfront about that because they are the experts. I bow down to family caregivers. They have the hardest job on earth. They should be paid what an NFL, you know, quarterback is paid. But I have been a professional caregiver, and just, you know, with my knowledge and knowing that I will be a family caregiver one day, let's be real, and or someone might be caring for me too. And so yeah, just learning all that I can and trying to uplift the voices of those in the trenches, you know, those doing the hardest work.
Oh, well, that
That was a lot. I'm sorry.
No,
I
that
need
was
to
so
hone
great.
in my elevator pitch. I do not have one.
I thought it was great. And I love that you shared your personal background, your professional background, and how it's led you to what you do now. And you do such a beautiful job of uplifting family caregivers. And I love also that you're a gerontologist.
Yes.
I love talking to fellow gerontologists. So whoop whoop.
It is so cool.
It is. And there's not enough of us. So as you mentioned, too, not enough people uplifting this community. And so I'm excited today to cover, the top 10 resources every dementia caregiver should know, because we know it's an overwhelming job. I love how you said they should be paid what an NFL quarterback is paid, because it is a lot of times a thankless job. It can be very overwhelming, can be isolating. And sometimes people are like, where do I even start? Yeah. So I think this list will hopefully be helpful. And just to kind of ground us in the conversation around Alzheimer's and dementia, I'm sure you get asked a lot, as do I, what's the difference? And so I use an umbrella analogy, and I think you do too.
Yes.
Where dementia is that umbrella term that describes a series of symptoms. And then there's different types of dementia that fall under that umbrella. And Alzheimer's is the most common. Yes. That's why we hear about it the most. But then there's others like Lewy body, frontal temporal dementia, vascular. There's a mixture. There's so many different types of dementia. So we're going to be talking about the various types. And I think it's so important for family members to understand if they can get a more specific diagnosis.
Yes.
Because the symptoms can differ. Anything that you would add to that kind of description or overview?
Yeah, you did beautifully. Because it is hard, and it's hard to. It's just a really hard concept to grasp, honestly.
Yes.
It took me a long time. I still sometimes I'm like, can I Google that just in case it sounds weird, But I like to point out that there are over 120 causes, forms, types that lead to dementia. So there's all these things, 120 that we know about, things that can cause dementia. And I want to just say that, so that umbrella is big. That's a big umbrella, but we don't hear about that. We hear about the ones you said to an extent. If you're really in the community and looking, you'll hear about others besides Alzheimer's disease. But as you said, I just wanted to put numbers to it. 60 to 80% of cases of dementia is what we say is Alzheimer's. But I do, push back on that, thinking we're going to get better at diagnosing. And we're going to see that there's more dementias going on here than Alzheimer's, I think, and a lot more specific types of, just brain changes that we're seeing. And I feel like it's just very common to kind of lump them and be like, okay, we're seeing memory loss. It's got to be Alzheimer's type thing, because we really can't get definitive diagnoses, right? And that's really difficult. So it's just important to note that, we're still very much in the early times of diagnosing all these dementias and understanding what dementias look like, all of them, and, how they progress. But I'm so glad you said mixed dementia, because mixed dementia is so common and we don't talk about it.
True.
I hear that up to, one of the stats is half of people over 85 have more than one type of dementia. So that's mixed dementia.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That's a lot.
Yeah. So Alzheimer's and vascular could be going on at the same time, or you could have a third on there. So just putting that up. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes the care even more complex.
Oh my gosh.
At times. The symptoms might even be more confusing or hard to manage. And so I think one of the most important things family caregivers can do is learn about Alzheimer's, the various types of dementia that they have or their loved one has, and connect to resources. And so that's really the goal of our top 10 list, is to provide some places for people to go, to get that education, to get that support. And so hopefully they feel less alone in the journey.
Exactly. Yeah. And I can I just say, and I want to just also just say this, please don't feel badly if you don't have a diagnosis. That is very common. Like I was just talking to some women last week, and one has a mother with Lewy body dementia and one has a mother with FTD, but they think some other dementia is happening with both, and they've been trying to get a diagnosis for over 10 years.
Wow.
So, but they have not given up because they want to know the answers so they can best support their moms. And I know this is literally a full-time job. Like, this is a full other job for you. And so please don't be like, oh no, I'm doing something wrong if I don't have a diagnosis. You are not. We do not have the diagnostic testing yet. That's, we don't have physicians that are doing this work or are familiar with it yet. So it's just important to know that it's not your fault. You're not doing anything wrong. This is really difficult.
Such a great point. Yes. And I think we are making strides. It's encouraging. I get from time to time the opportunity to go to some of these conferences where these scientists are talking about the research, and we are making strides. And if you compare Alzheimer's and dementia to like cancer, we have been studying cancer far longer than we've been studying dementia and Alzheimer's. And so we are slowly making progress, but I think that the progress is starting to speed up a little because more emphasis is being put on it. So that is encouraging. If people need a little bout of encouragement today. But we also know until there's a cure, people need care, people need support. And so let's dive into the top 10 resources every dementia caregiver should know.
Let's do it.
All right, drum roll. Number 1. I think this is the most common one that a lot of people already know about, but it's the Alzheimer's Association. They are probably, again, the most well-known. They're the purple logo. A lot of people see their commercials. They have their Walk to End Alzheimer's, which is their biggest fundraiser. Home Instead is a proud national team and supporter of that event. But there's so many great outlets for education and support that they provide. So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't start by mentioning some of theirs. And one thing I know we were just chatting is their helpline. And Carrie, I don't think caregivers know it's available 24/7. And we'll, in the show notes, link to the number. It's also, if you go to alz.org, it's like at the very top in bold letters, the phone number there. But do you find that caregivers reach out to that phone line often?
I honestly haven't heard many that do, because I think people are really hard on themselves. I know people are really hard on themselves, and they think like, no, I should be able to handle this. I shouldn't have to like call someone. And I think it's a really big struggle, and it takes a lot to pick up that phone. And I think also just the fact that I think once they get to that point where they need it, they might have forgotten it's available, because you get so much thrown at you in the beginning. And then when crisis happens or things come up, you can't remember, you can't decipher what was needed. So just as just kind of a reminder for everyone, having that helpline number on the fridge whenever you're having a really difficult time could be a lifesaver for just talking and saying, man, they're doing something tonight. It's really difficult. What do I do? Walk me through this. Why would this be happening? And that's a huge gift. So having that out, if you never need to use it, that's fine too, but have it available. You never know.
Yes. Make it a contact in your phone. We all have contacts in our phones. So that is one of the many things that they provide. In addition, they have support groups, which we're going to talk more about in just a bit. They have them virtually, in person, and each state has various chapters of the Alzheimer's Association, so you can get plugged in locally. You could participate in their advocacy efforts, their Walk to End Alzheimer's. I love going to the walk and seeing families with T-shirts that say "Walking for Grandma" or "I'm living with Alzheimer's and I'm here walking." So it's a great way for families to rally around each other and fellow caregivers. And then also they have a community resource finder, which is a great resource. Home Instead is listed on there as a home care provider, but on the community resource finder, you can search for physicians in your area that have specialized in dementia. You can search for adult day centers. You can search for home care, support groups, so many things. So their community resource finder will link to all of these things that we're mentioning today in the show notes, so you don't have to be jotting all this down.
Yeah, no, please don't do that to yourself.
Yes.
Especially if you're driving.
Exactly, yes. So again, there's so many great resources. So alz.org is like the main website where you can find all of it. And be sure to check it out, follow them on social media, and stay up to date. And anything you would add, Carrie?
Absolutely. I do want to say one thing, because the longest day is coming up. And that's a huge one, for the Alzheimer's Association. So you can see if they're doing any of these amazing events near you, or if you want to, do one yourself. But they raise a lot of money on, it's June 22nd, right? The longest day. Or is it the 21st?
Yeah, whatever the summer solstice is. That's
I always
the 20th, 21st, or 22nd. I can never remember.
I think it's the 22nd this year, but I'm doing one in Vegas with the, Golden Knights theme, and we're hitting hockey pucks all day. And so, you never know what might be going on, and you can join things virtually. So look into that. And then one other thing, if you are looking for really good education on there and you want a succinct, PDF, their fact sheet reports for the year are incredible. Those I've been printing out I don't print them anymore. That's a lot of paper, but I used to at my old jobs for years. And I'd be like, oh, I'm getting this printed at work so I can read it. But highly recommend that, especially, professionals that want to learn more, but because it can be really daunting. So please don't go in and think you have to read the whole thing, but it's a great reference guide.
Absolutely. Yeah. I look forward to the facts and figures report every year too. I use it to update a lot of my presentations and resources. So check out the Alzheimer's Association. 100%. That is the number one on our list. And then number two is support groups. And I know that that's kind of broad, but support groups are so important because, as you mentioned earlier, Carrie, isolation is huge when it comes to caregivers that are supporting someone with dementia. People often feel so alone, but there are millions of family caregivers. Yeah. So plugging into support groups can be life-changing. It can help not only be an outlet for you to kind of unload some of what you're going through, but also there's so much opportunity to learn from one another. I hear of great tips being shared, passed back and forth. A lot of times support groups bring in experts to educate. So whether you're finding one virtually or in person, support groups can just be so important. What would you add on support groups, Carrie?
I know that I talk to a lot of people that are intimidated by a support group setting, and I get that. And I get that a lot of people are mentally and physically spent. They don't want to go talk to people they don't know necessarily, and I get that. So I hear that a lot. And kind of support group can just be a certain view in people's head, I've learned, because I'm such a support group fan, but I get it. I'm also outgoing and I love talking to people. So that's, there's differences for people. Yeah. So I will say to those people who think I can't make it at a certain time all the time, I don't want to dedicate that. I don't, whatever. Or I don't want to be in a group setting. Please look for the online forums and be safe about where you're going. But there's Facebook groups that are truly gold. And then you can go on when needed, post what's needed. You can even ask questions anonymously if that makes you feel comfortable. Just social media in general can be such a support. And then it's on your own time as well. But, just not being scared to DM a caregiver you follow and say, I would love to talk to you sometime. You've been talking in comments about things that I'm dealing with. Are you interested? Worst case they can say is no. Just prepare, for that, but don't take it personally or anything. But I just want to say, don't be scared to reach out, because so many people, like you said, they feel so isolated. They feel so alone. They're scared to reach out. They don't know if people are going to think they're weird, whatever. They think they're dealing with something so unique that no one else is. And it's true, but there's also a lot of other people at home thinking the same thing, and you can be there for each other, even if it is through Instagram, which can sound cheesy to some, but my Instagram friends have changed my life for the better. Yeah, and absolutely. So I just implore you to look for whatever, platform you feel most comfortable on, and start looking. Look up the hashtag, Lewy body dementia, whatever you're dealing with. Yes. Caregiver grief, whatever you're dealing with, and reach out. I will not be sorry. I'm pretty positive.
Absolutely. Well, and I love that you brought up kind of that non-support group support.
Yeah.
On social media, because I follow a lot of those support groups, and I'm just blown away by how encouraging they are of one another, how freely they are to share their experience with one another. So get plugged in one way or another. Don't caregive in isolation, because that is going to lead to a lot of other issues that we don't have time to talk about today. but maybe we'll have to cover in another episode, Carrie.
Yes, because there's a lot of great virtual ones too. So yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and the number 3 is disease-specific websites. So we've already talked about Alzheimer's Association if your loved one has Alzheimer's. But as you mentioned, there's so many other types of dementia. And there are other organizations that are providing great resources similar to what the Alzheimer's Association provides, like support groups, helplines. So one is Lewy Body Dementia Association.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And another favorite of mine is the Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration, FTD.
Amazing.
And you've probably seen FTD in the news a lot lately because Bruce Willis has come out with news that he's been diagnosed, Wendy Williams. So those types of dementia are getting a little more press as celebrities are stepping forth saying they have a loved one or they themselves are diagnosed. But those disease-specific websites can be a game changer because, again, the symptoms can differ for those types of dementia.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm such a fan of the AFTD as well. They are making strides. They are doing so much work to grow and grow fast because they know, like you said, care cannot wait. These people cannot wait for help. And the way that the AFTD has grown because of their efforts in volunteers live, the caregivers, the families that have cared for someone or are caring for someone with FTD are stepping up and they are working their butts off overtime to get this foundation big. And it is beautiful to witness. I mean, truly, the community I've been able to see for my caregiver friends that are in the FTD community, and watching just the light being, shined on their, what they've been dealing with has been huge for them. But there's so much more to go. There's so much more work to be done. But just watching them even over the last year, how much they've accomplished. And so, please support them. And if you need any support with frontal temporal dementia or the Lewy body dementia, both of those associations are fabulous. And I hope to see more specific, foundations for all the types of dementia because there are not.
I agree. I know. It is great. And later this year, I am going to have a podcast dedicated to FTD. So stay tuned if you're an FTD caregiver. Subscribe so you don't miss it. But I think one thing was interesting as we were putting this list together is there's no vascular dementia organization, which is so interesting because it is a fairly common type of dementia, or at least one that I hear about often. But it's also one that's often mixed with another type of dementia. So while there's not a disease-specific website for that type of dementia, I did just want to put out there, if it is mixed with another type of dementia, still plug in to those resources because they will be helpful too, even if, that diagnosis of vascular doesn't quite match up. Don't be discouraged. Continue to plug in is what I would say to that.
Yes. And things are popping up every day. Something might pop up tomorrow. Like, let's hope. But because we know the need is there. But I would also say this just popped in my head. Maybe it's through like a stroke foundation, since that is very much connected. Maybe there's like an offshoot. I will look into that. But we know it's not just stroke that can, lead to vascular dementia. But I was just thinking that's the most common.
Yeah.
Because vascular dementia comes from, the lack of blood flow to the brain. So it's just, it's upsetting because as I said, there's over 120 things.
Yes.
And it's like, we need to know what we're dealing with because that's, as you said, a game changer for the care we can provide and understanding what our loved one needs.
Absolutely. And I think what's also great people should know about support groups is there are some that are dedicated to those with younger onset. There are some that are dedicated to spousal caregiving. There are some that are, younger. We're seeing more, kids, children that are caring for a parent or that are impacted. So when you're looking into support groups, if you try one and it doesn't seem like it's a good fit for you, don't give up. There are other organizations that are working hard to bring together like people. HFC is one of them, and we're going to get to them in just a bit. So I don't want to jump the gun there. Yeah. But there are more like life stage specific or role specific support groups, I would say. So you can also look for those as well. And I know you have worked with one or know of one that's specific to younger onset dementia. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, and I want to say, because what you said, don't give up, because what I hear a lot, especially in the in-person one support groups that people try, is if they're a younger person, they're like, I'm the only one caring for my mom in this group, because, and like it was all spouses of someone in their 80s or 90s, like, which is, everyone's valid, but if you're not seeing yourself in your
Yeah.
support group, you're probably not going to feel as validated, or what have you. So please don't give up, because like you said, there are very specific groups. You can Google specifics, and it's quite amazing what you can find. But yes, Lorenzo's house is an it truly like brings tears to my eyes. Lorenzo's house
Mm.
is such an incredible support for young people, for families that have been touched by young onset dementia. And so this is, kids that have witnessed their parents with FTD, dementia,
Yeah.
young onset dementia in their 40s. And I just heard of someone in their late 30s that was placed in memory care. And she has children under the age of 10. How do you deal
Wow.
with that? How do you
Wow.
find like-minded peers? Oh, I know, it's the
That's
heaviest thing.
heartbreaking.
It's
Oh,
so
it's
heavy.
very it is very heavy,
Yeah.
but so beautiful that there's a community that has started and formed so
Yes.
people can find those that are going through similar situations. And
Yeah.
really that is the goal and the beauty of support groups
Yes. And
or
they're
support
global.
outlets.
I mean, they're helping people all over. They have one
Wow.
guy in Brazil that is in the group, I believe, and they do a lot. So please look out. They have a group for people that are caring at this time with someone, and they're still with us. And then they have people. There's a Shine On group, and they're the people that are doing work after their loved one has passed. And these children or teenagers, young adults, are amazing, amazing.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that we were able to cover that as our number 3 resource support group. So be sure to get plugged in one way or another.
Yes.
And then number 4 is respite care.
Yes. Biggie, big, big, big.
Yes. And respite can look different for everyone.
Yes.
It comes in various shapes and sizes and forms, I will say. It could be family members or friends that come over and give you a few hours away while they are with your loved ones so that you can rest and recharge.
Yes.
You can also hire a professional organization like Home Instead to come in and provide care. And we provide very personalized care. We can customize the schedule, whether it's a few hours a day or overnights or a few days at a time. So looking into home care can be a great option. And then there's also adult day centers, which I know, Carrie, you know a lot about adult day. And then also some communities offer short stay. So I thought I'd let you chat a little bit about adult day and those short-term stays.
Adult daycare is the future of care, if you ask me. I've been saying that for the last decade. And I just think, that is going to be the affordable option for people to, be able to care for a long, many years. And especially if you have to go to a job, it's great to be able to have your loved one somewhere during your day, at work. And that, at adult daycare centers, it's so nice because they're getting meals, they can get their medications given to them. They might be able to get even therapies coming in to see them while they're there. They're getting all this, wonderful social interaction and engagement, and they can be part of their community, right? So adult daycare centers are wonderful. Even if, you just need some time twice a week or what have you, whatever you can work out and afford, do that for yourself so you can have time to be a person on your own and do things for yourself. So I highly recommend looking into adult daycare centers, asking your area on aging agency, if they have anything, if they know of any, because I know it's scarce. I know a lot of places
Yes.
do not have them. I get a lot of messages that were like, well, that sounds great, but there's none in my state. And so it is still, earlier stages of that, but we will see them popping up more. And so keep, an eye open for those. And then also communities do, in some cases, offer short respite stays. I worked at a place where you had to at least do 2 weeks. So that can be a commitment.
Yes.
But some places are different because, they have to do quite a lot on the back end to have someone come in. So sometimes it's worth, having a little bit longer. But I would often have families that would take a long vacation or just take that time to, they would come visit and stuff, but that would give them some time to really get good rest and time off. So, just being locked into your community. You never know what is available. So, if you know that
Right.
there's a really wonderful memory care or assisted living in town that has great reviews, call them up and see if they do respite. And that's a really big thing for companies, because that's a way for them to show you what they can offer as well. If you do need, full-time support one day. So, but I would definitely look for what's available. You might be surprised.
Yes. And I think another resource a lot of people don't know about when it comes to respite care, there's some programs out there, if you're worried about
Yes.
affordability, that offer vouchers or
Yes.
grants or, might help reduce the cost. So I would contact your AAA, your local area agency on aging, to
Yes.
see if there's any programs in your area. Sometimes the local Alzheimer's associations or
Yeah.
Alzheimer's related organizations, dementia related organizations have grants or help cover some of the costs for those things as well. So definitely worth looking into. And it's really an investment in you as the caregiver too, because
It is.
caregivers, they give so much and they need that time to recharge and take a break. And one thing I hear from caregivers sometimes is, well, I'm nervous to leave my loved one in the care of someone else. They're never going to care for them like I do. And I always say, yes, you are always going to care the
Yeah.
best for your loved one. And it can be nerve-wracking, but they are going to be in good hands while you're away. And it'll allow you to do some things for yourself, like go to your own doctor's appointment
Yes.
or take a nap or,
Mhm.
get some things done around the house, get your own haircut, those
Yeah.
kinds of things that will allow you to continue being the best caregiver you can be for your loved one. Because I know you and I, Carrie, see burnout
Yeah.
all the time. And it can lead to a lot of things that we definitely don't want to see. So please, if you haven't looked into respite care, look into it,
Yeah.
even if you don't think you need it yet,
I was
because
just
that's
gonna
another
say,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Get
a
on
lot
those
of
lists. I don't care
yes.
if you don't think you need them. Get on the waiting list, and if they call you and you still don't need it, say, "Keep me on the list. I'm good." It doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of times when people finally do use it, they often will say, I wish I would have started this
I
sooner,
know.
So if you want to take a lesson learned from a former caregiver, many of them do say, I wish I would have used services sooner. So start looking into it
100%.
now. Know your options in your community. So
Well,
respite care.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
And no, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to say, because I worked for senior services in Nevada and we had respite care vouchers, so many went unused because people just didn't know.
Wow.
And how sad, like there were vouchers for, 4 hours, but that's 4 hours,
Yes.
like a free respite that people qualified for, but people just didn't know. So, so that's why, just see what senior services, what any type of nonprofits can offer you in your area. It's so worth it.
Absolutely. The next number 5, so we're almost halfway through our list,
Yes.
is looking into options for meaningful engagement. And I think that is so important for individuals living with dementia because, so many feel maybe like their independence is being taken away or they are looking for something to give them purpose and meaning in their day. And not everyone wants to do a puzzle or play bingo or, create arts and crafts. And so you need to really hone in on what's important to your loved one. What are their past hobbies? What do they really enjoy doing? We do see the arts actually for many people who never were interested in art.
Yeah.
Now they have dementia and all of a sudden they are interested in art. So don't
Yeah.
rule art out by any means. But finding meaningful engagement outlets is so, so important. And I know, Carrie, you have some specifically that you have great experience with and have heard from caregivers are really impactful. So I'll let you share some of those.
Yes. I always have these 4 resources in my back pocket because they are affordable, they're incredible, and they're created by professionals and by people that have caregived, like they are family caregivers that have created this. They get it. So I really like to share these. And it's also, as we were talking about respite, when your loved one has something that they can focus on and be engaged with, that can give you a little bit of respite too, because you're not having to dance around and, entertain. And so actually the first one, Zinnia TV, came from a woman who was caring for her husband with FTD dementia. And he was very young and, she had teenage boys and she realized she couldn't just keep the TV on for him to watch because it was actually very stressful for him. It was, whatever it was, was just too real, and it would be, too hard on him to be able to follow plot lines, or it would stress him out because he would think, maybe an action movie was real, what have you. So
Yes.
she created Zinnia to be a safe and accessible library of TV options for people living with dementia to be able to relax and to calm and to be able to actually enjoy what they're watching and it not be distressing. And this in turn has grown and turned into, they have caregiver support option videos now where they teach caregivers. They also have really wonderful, I love it, because they even try to help you. It's not just like pretty things you're looking at. Like they actually have videos where it's like, drink your water, and it gets your loved one to drink water, and it's visuals of people drinking so they don't have to do it alone. There's so much behind it that they're trying to support the caregiver and their person in, and it's just so intentional, and it's just beautiful to see. One of my favorite caregiving duos that I follow is Life with Grams and Mary and Chris. And when I visited them in Chicago, we put on Zinnia TV Babies, and it's just a bunch of baby videos. And Mary has late stage Alzheimer's, and she's just at the TV, petting the babies, kissing the TV, giggling. And she stood there for half an hour, just, and just loving life. And it was like, that was so much joy. How beautiful was that? So Zinnia
great.
TV, fabulous. Mirador magazine is another one. It's literally made from a caregiver because she was like, my loved one, my aunt, loves her magazine subscriptions, but through her dementia progression, she wasn't able to actually enjoy them anymore. She wasn't able to read them. So she made a magazine subscription for people with experiencing cognitive decline and how they can also still enjoy magazines. So that's a really beautiful one. Nana's Books is another one. Same thing. It's with books, but it's for reminiscing. It's utilizing all these different types of books she has, from whether it be religion or veteran content or holiday content. It's a way to connect and reminisce with your person, and they're curated to do just that for you. And then Music with Alexis she also has a company that's for in-home, like in community settings as well. But Music with Alexis is an incredible music therapy sing-along program that you can have on the TV, and your loved one can sing along with her and get a lot of joy out of that. We know that music, is one of the last things we have, right? So being able to connect with that and bring memories and reminisce with your loved one on different songs is so wonderful, such a gift as well. So I hope, these types of things, they're affordable, they're accessible, they're straightforward, and I just hope that these can, bring joy into people's lives and give them a moment to connect, so it's not all this pressure on the caregiver to think of what to do. This is here for you to take that off of you.
I love that. Well, and I think too, a lot of those things can be intergenerational too.
Oh,
so
yes.
You can involve people, in your family, young, old, all getting involved in those activities, and bringing joy is, I think,
always.
It's so important to, because so much of caregiving can be challenging and overwhelming. So having those moments of joy really can be a bright spot in the day, and help, again, give that caregiver the little oomph they need to continue on in their journey. So
100%.
We'll link to all those in the show notes. And so that concludes the first half of our top 10 list. And before we keep going, we're going to take a quick commercial break. This podcast is brought to you by Home Instead, an honor company. If you find yourself needing extra support as a family caregiver or time away from your caregiving responsibilities, Home Instead can help. Our home care services are delivered by compassionate care professionals and range from personal care, meal preparation, and medication management to Alzheimer's care and hospice support. Visit homeinstead.com to learn more and to find a location near you. All right, so we're headed into the number 6 resource on our top 10 list, and that's Hilarity for Charity, HFC. And Carrie, you and I both have been involved with this organization. It is founded by actor Seth Rogen and his wife, Lauren Miller Rogen. Really started because Lauren's mom passed away from Alzheimer's disease, but they started it when she was still living because she was a younger caregiver, wasn't seeing Alzheimer's or dementia talked about much, wasn't finding peers that were going through the same thing and wanted to create a community for education, for support around brain health and Alzheimer's. And they have just grown into such a cool organization. I am part of their care advisory board, and Home Instead also supports their Respite grant program. But they have awesome support groups. They have this caregiver road trip guide that's virtual. That is so cool. But I know you're involved, so would love for you to share a little bit about how you're connected to HFC.
Yeah, they're the best. I'm obsessed. Just what they do and how they do it, and they bring light and of course the comedy, and we all need that. But they're very real, and their brain education initiative and their HFC universe is just phenomenal what they just launched. So highly recommend looking into that. But I have been part of their care squad, which is professionals and caregivers, a little group of us for over 3 years or so, more than that. And we meet and think of how we can support family caregivers and what we can do for them. So that's been such an honor to be a part of that and just be amongst these family caregivers and that group. So highly recommend you look into their support groups. They have specific support groups. Like they have men's support groups. They have, younger support groups. They have for Black family caregiver support groups. They have so many options. So please look into that. And so many fun, free virtual events. Like literally you can go to a virtual event for caregivers and Trevor Noah's there. Come on. It's amazing. They're the best.
Yes. And I think in February, they usually have like a CareCon, which is a family caregiver virtual conference. And you're right. It is a star-studded event. They make it fun. They make it approachable. They make it easy to plug into. And their support groups are fantastic. They're all virtual. And they even have some Spanish-speaking support groups too.
Yes, and thank you for saying that. Yeah.
They really focus on culturally competent resources, which I think is such a needed resource. And check them out. wearehfc.org is their website, and you can learn about all of the goodness they have going on there. So definitely wanted to highlight them as a number 6 resource. They touch on a lot of things that we've already covered, but one of the great organizations out there supporting dementia caregivers.
Yes.
And then number 7 is Care Navigator services. And this kind of encompasses a lot of different things. And so, when you're looking for care, sometimes it can be overwhelming, and it can be helpful to work with someone who specializes in it, who knows all the options in your local area. And there are people that actually are called geriatric care managers. Not all of them are dementia specific, so I will add that caveat. But the Aging Life Care Association has a registry of geriatric care managers. You can go online, put in your zip code, see if there's one in your area that can help you manage finding care or just navigating all of the challenges that come with caregiving. So they're a great person to reach out to. And then I know the journey of finding placement for your loved one, if they need to move into a memory care facility, can be daunting and overwhelming. And I know there are specialists. So Carrie, you've worked in that space. So can you tell us a little bit about placement specialists and what they offer families?
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome because it depends obviously where you live. There's different companies everywhere that are popping up, especially more now. But these community specialists truly help you take in all the information because it is, like I said earlier, it's like another full-time job trying to figure out, because you have to, you're looking at their state, notes if they did well in their, in their state findings. And then you're looking at, reviews online. You're going to try to talk to families. There's all these things that, you could be doing to look for memory care. And that's a lot. So this community navigator literally does all that work for you. And they will come to you after figuring out what your needs are for your loved one and your family and what you're looking for. And then they can help you make the best decision based on all that information they've collected for your community, for your area. So, finding the right place, very daunting. So having someone to be your, partner in that and to lead is wonderful. So definitely looking up, memory care assisted living placement specialists or something like that in your area. Senior care placement specialists is the way to go.
Absolutely. And a lot of times it's free for families.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll set up the tours for you. They'll even go on the tours for you.
Yeah.
And like you said, they'll take into account all of your kind of stats and all of the stats on the memory care facilities or assisted living and make sure that it's a good match. So highly recommend looking into them. And then there are also, some kind of caregiver coaching type services as well. They could be in person in your community. They could be virtual. And I know, Carrie, you're kind of in the know on a couple of those virtual offerings.
Yeah, actually, this is going to always be free. They said they got funding to always be free, but a platform called Steady, STEADII, and they are like a caregiver coaching mental health support specifically for dementia caregivers.
Wow.
And so they have these coaches that are in there and you meet with them and they help you, organize and plan how to go about things and how to take care of yourself, how to prioritize yourself. But they are wonderful. And again, it's free. So Steady. And then there's also other, paid for services, but there are caregiver coaches out there that are amazing. Compassion and Caregiving is based in Canada, and she just opened up to anyone she can help now in caregiver coaching. But highly recommend looking up if you have caregiver coaches in your area, and especially if you want someone in person. There's probably foundations that do that, and you can meet with them. And so they're a wealth of knowledge.
Awesome. All right, this takes us to number 8. We know that there is an effort to make communities dementia friendly. So there is an organization called Dementia Friendly America that is working with local cities, towns, states to make communities dementia friendly, because we know, again, isolation is really common and it can be daunting, overwhelming, challenging to take your loved one out in public to a restaurant or a grocery store, but getting out in community is still so important. And so I love that this initiative is taking place, it's happening. And then they also have kind of this component where individuals can sign up to become a dementia friend. And it's kind of like a little certification where you can go online and watch a few videos to learn about dementia and how you can interact with people in public that might have cognitive impairment. And it's making a huge difference in communities across the country. And I know, Carrie, you're involved in your local DFA effort. Is that right?
Yeah. And I'm going to be actually been able to go to the meetings now that I've gone off on my own as Dementia Darling. I'm going to be free to be able to do that. I'm so excited because I'm in the Las Vegas chapter, and it's just beautiful to see how they're working with businesses across the city to make it more inclusive and make it safe for these family members, for them to feel safe, that their loved one won't be stigmatized, or people making fun of them, or not being able to meet them where they're at. Like, that's, like you said, why people don't go out. It's so stressful. So it's been really beautiful to see, like, salons want to be trained and involved. The firefighters, the policemen just did a thing. Like, that's what I want to see. And DFA is incredible for that. And you can do that in your own community and look up if there are efforts happening. And if there's not, you could even start it.
Yeah, you could be the one to make your community dementia friendly. And I think too, some of those organizations or some of the chapters rather do like a dementia night out at a local restaurant or other places. So okay, this designated time is going to be they're not going to play the music in the background. It's going to be a little more of a serene environment in the restaurant so that you can go with your loved one and enjoy. So again, a great organization. Follow them, see if there's a chapter in your area, or share the Dementia Friends website with the loved ones and people in your circle of care. And it looks like you have another thought.
Yes, I'm sorry. I forgot. On June 4th, I'm speaking for Dementia Friendly Pennsylvania, and it's virtual. It's for everyone, but they wanted me to share how to talk to kids and teens about dementia. So I'll be doing that.
Awesome.
It's free. And Loretta is the other one next month.
Oh, we love Loretta. She's going to be our guest next month.
I know. So you were on the same page as Pennsylvania Dementia Friendly. So that's going to be perfect. So send people over there. But those are 2 free, offerings. And then I wanted to say one other thing. In Michigan, I know they do like dementia friendly movie nights at movie theaters.
Oh, how fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's some cool initiatives out there.
There's so, and a lot of that is grassroots, which I love seeing.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So that was number 8. The next resource is really focused on the individual living with dementia. I think there's still stigma attached to this
Yeah.
disease, but so many people are living well with dementia. And sometimes it can be encouraging to see others living well with dementia.
Yeah.
And so there's two organizations that I am a huge fan of. One is the National Council of Dementia Minds. They presented at a conference recently, and I went and I got to hear from individuals living with the disease on how they are living well and being champions for the cause. And then another is Dementia Action Alliance. And Dementia Action Alliance is an international group of people living with dementia, and they host educational events. They have kind of formed groups where they can connect. So if your loved one maybe is newly diagnosed and needing some encouragement or needing to see others that are living well with dementia, these are great organizations to connect with and follow. And Carrie, would love to hear your thoughts on this topic, because I think, again, we need to fight the stigma of, it's a death sentence, it's your life is over. And while we know it's still progressive, there's no cure, so many people are living well.
Yes, absolutely. And I met them at a conference too recently because they spoke, and I'm so glad they're going out there and showing, and having people living with dementia on these panels. That's who we should be talking to and listening to. They're the experts, right? And we need to learn how to help them and support them in their journey and to have the best quality of life. So I was really lucky to hang out with some people from the Dementia Minds Council, and oh my gosh, it was just such a blessing, and I learned more than I could ever put into words. But yes, there's a quote, "Nothing about us without us," and that's for people living with dementia, and this is the testament to that. And so, as you said, please, if you have a loved one who is feeling discouraged, who needs that support, this is such a wonderful group for that, and for the caregivers, because you're going to meet the other caregivers and you're going to feel that love and that support and realness, but amazing things. And they have a lot of events coming up that you can support them.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we'll link to their websites along with all of these other awesome resources in the show notes. And we're already at number 10. That went by pretty quick. So I know we've had a lot of information that we shared, but one last resource is YouTube. And everyone can, log on to YouTube. There's so many awesome channels out there that are providing education and content. And there's you have to be a little mindful of the source on YouTube. Make sure that it's a reputable organization or educator. But there's some really great ones out there. I'll do a plug for Home Instead. We have a YouTube channel, and I have done some dementia-specific videos. We called it ALZ DIY because it's tips on how around the home you can make your home safer, a more livable environment for someone living with dementia. So check out Home Instead's YouTube page. But Carrie, I know you have a few others that you love following and would love to hear who people should be subscribing to on YouTube.
Yes, absolutely. So my two favorite pages on YouTube for support to take it all in. They have so much information about dementia and how to care as well. But oh my gosh, just the best. So Teepa Snow. If you're not familiar with Teepa Snow, she is, in my eyes, the best of the best of the best in dementia care. She is everything, and I just absolutely love her teachings. So Teepa Snow, her YouTube channel is gold. And then same with Dementia Care Blazers. That is Dr. Natalie Edmonds. And she is, oh my gosh, the way that so she did, I think it's geropsychology as well. So she comes into it on how to help the family members too, and your person living with dementia with the emotional side of things as well. So it's just a beautiful way that she comes, to educate through that lens. But her knowledge and her knowledge around tips and tricks and how to make your life a little easier is absolutely invaluable. So both of those, Teepa Snow and Dementia Care Blazers, you cannot go wrong with.
Absolutely. I follow both of them as well. And I agree. There's so much great content out there. There's so many great resources. We hit 10 of what we feel are the top resources every dementia caregiver should know, but there's no way we could have covered it all. But if you are a caregiver, you might be like, oh gosh, I can't even start with 10. Comb through the links on the show notes of this episode and just maybe pick one or two to start. Look into them. And then over time, you can start to follow various people, get plugged in, and hopefully all these resources can support you on your journey. Because I think it's so important to remember you're not alone. There's so many people caring. There's so many people out there educating and supporting. So get plugged in. You won't be sorry, as you said earlier. You won't regret it. And so, Carrie, and thank you for all that you do. And
Thanks.
I would encourage folks, I would add you to that list of resources people should be following. I know your Instagram page is awesome. Every day you have such fun videos and such educational videos. And so would encourage people to connect with you. And I want to thank you for such a fun and informative conversation today. We could have talked for hours.
No, I know.
I need to have you back.
Okay, I'm here whenever you want. I loved it. Thank you so much, and thanks for. I love your pink today. I felt like that was a shout out for me or something.
Well, yes, I love your pink hair, and so I actually was talking with our producer Austin about how I wore pink for you.
Thank you. I felt it, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thank you for uplifting and doing this work because we know it's just so needed, and it's an honor to talk to you and to be a part of this. So be a part of this community, and just anyone listening, just know you're not alone. As we said, I know it's so annoying, but you're not alone. You deserve the care you provide to others. You deserve that back on yourself and the love you give to others, and you deserve to find the supports that are out there. And I'm sorry if you don't have the support you thought you would from family and loved ones. But there are other people ready and willing to help, and we just kind of have to find it. But I wish everyone all the best on their dementia journeys, whatever that may look like. And just thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Carrie. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to thank Carrie so much for joining me. I hope the resources we have shared can help dementia caregivers find support along their journey. If you have any dementia-related resources that you would like to add to this list, I would love to hear them. You can always email me at caregiverchats@homeinsteadinc.com. That's caregiverchats@homeinsteadinc.com. I hope you'll tune in to the next episode of Caregiver Chats, where we will continue our discussion around dementia and focus on meaningful activities. I will be joined by family caregiver and dementia advocate Loretta Vini. Loretta will have so many great visuals that we're going to also share a video version of the podcast in addition to the audio. So be sure to follow us on Facebook at Home Instead Inc. so you don't miss it. You can also find the links to everything we covered today in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening, and please remember to take good care of yourself while caring for others. Caregiver Chats is brought to you by Home Instead. If you're looking for in-home care to support you on your caregiving journey, please visit homeinstead.com to learn more.